Welcome back to part two of reading my book every week until it releases. Today, we're probably just going to read one chapter. As you can see, there's a lot more snow this time. The scene has changed a bit, but we're still going to read. We're still going to see how the book sounds, and we'll be out in the outdoors, which is nice. I realized last time I didn't read the actual back of the book, what it says. It describes the book pretty well, but obviously not perfect because it's hard to describe a 200-page book in a few paragraphs. But I'll read it right now, and then we'll get into chapter 2 of part 1, and then the next week we'll do chapter 3 of part 1, and maybe a bit more. Depends how cold it is and how much snow there is. So at the top, it just says, finding purpose through exploration. Step out of your comfort zone, embrace the unknown, redefine success. What if the secret to discovering your true passion, purpose, and success lies in taking that first bold step into the unfamiliar? In trying new things, Daniel Stewart, or me, dives deep into the transformative power of stepping outside your comfort zone and saying yes to the opportunities that scare and excite you the most. Through a mix of personal stories, practical strategies, and inspiring insights, Daniel explores the barriers that hold us back, fear, doubt, inertia, and offers a roadmap for breaking through them. Whether you're aiming to find a new hobby, build a thriving business, or simply rediscover joy in everyday life, this book will show you how to. Some of this is covered by the not for resale in the proof, but I think I can read it. Overcome the fear of failure, or even the fear of success. Build resilience and confidence through small, intentional steps. Redefine success on your own terms, beyond money and societal expectations. Harness the thrill of discovery to fuel personal growth and happiness. See failure not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone to growth. Life's most meaningful moments aren't found on the well-trodden path. They're hidden in the twists and turns of trying something new. Trying new things is your invitation to embrace the adventure of growth, curiosity, and unexpected success. Are you ready to take that first step? Now let's get started. So we're diving into chapter 2 of part 1, which is the psychology of starting. Here we go. Chapter 2, the psychology of starting. We probably have all struggled with starting new things before, whether it be a new business, new hobby, new skill, relationship, etc. When we first start something new, it is all fun and exciting. Our brain rewards us with a little hit of dopamine, and we are excited to start a new adventure. While all of that is if we actually start in the first place, and that is the hardest part. Our psychology and physiology has fear responses so that we can escape danger. It's perfect for running from bears and other predatory animals. But why on earth does it kick in when we want to try something new? Even if it's starting something small like a new hobby, when we try something new, our body is like Obi-Wan from Star Wars. You know that one line where he's like, I have a bad feeling about this. Since you've never participated in this new thing before, your body is a little suspicious and is wondering whether or not it is actually safe. So then the fear comes in, which typically scares people away pretty easily. Inertia. Fear isn't the only thing holding us back. There's something that keeps us stuck on the same path, inertia. Inertia, often discussed in physics, refers to an object's resistance to changes in its state of motion. In our lives, inertia manifests as resistance to change our current path. The longer we've been on a particular path, the harder it becomes to deviate from it. All right, that's about as much as I remember from physics class, but the key takeaway is simple. Inertia means resisting change. And guess what? In life, we do the same thing, sticking to the same routines and avoiding anything that shakes up the status quo. So as humans, we like inertia. Keeps us going in a straight path and doesn't let us move off our current trajectory. We often like to do anything that will stray our lives off the path we are currently on, and the more time we've been on this straight path typically means the less we will want to stray from it. Well, that's why I'm here. I think that you should analyze your current path and see if it needs straying. You can break off this inertia path by simply trying new things. That isn't too hard, is it? Well, maybe it is a little hard, but the main obstacle is starting. Once you start, you've gotten through 75% of the battle. Here, let me give you a visual. Imagine a straight line from you and your current goal. That is your line of inertia. Now imagine adding 2 new goals that branch off from your straight line. They're not tied to your past goal, but they represent new directions entirely. Suddenly, your straight line is more like a tree branch, growing and expanding in new ways. Aha, the branch from which the tree will grow. You could even think of that branch as a new neural network in your brain. All those new goals create the branches from which so much can grow. I love making little drawings like that. This is the little drawing here. Anyways, back to business. So if trying new things can break our paths off inertia, why don't we try new things all the time? There are 3 main reasons why. Number 1, as we talked about earlier, is the fear of failure. Or is it the fear of what others will think of you if you fail? You must embrace failure as necessary for growth so that if you do fail, you're ready to go again. You have to be like a boxer who just won't quit. Every time he gets knocked down, he gets right back up. Next up is stepping outside of your comfort zone, which is probably just as tricky as dealing with failure. We can imagine your comfort zone as being your original inertia line, straight up and down from you to your current goal. This is the zone that you're used to, you feel safest in, and that you feel you have the most control in. There may be a few layers to push through, fear, doubt, and that little voice in your head telling you to play it safe. But once you break through, you'll realize the comfort zone wasn't all that comfortable at all. You've got this, don't worry. Number 3 is the paradox of choice. There is an issue that is ever growing, especially in our everyday lives, where more and more is readily available. So many options, but which one do I choose? Here's where it gets tricky, the paradox of choice. It sounds like more options would make decision-making easier, right? Wrong. The more choices we have, the harder it becomes to make a decision. Instead of freeing us up, it overwhelms us. So even though it may seem like it will make the decision process easier, it actually increases the complication of the decision immensely. So when you go to try new things, you may come up with a million things you have always wanted to try, but choosing from a million options is quite hard. So there you have it, the 3 musketeers of inertia, always ready to keep you on that safe, predictable, straight line. But here's the good news. Once you recognize these guys, they're easier to outsmart. With a little awareness, you can start cutting new paths and shaking up that inertia for good. The 3 musketeers of inertia are fear of failure, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and the paradox of choice. Motivational psychology. Now, what motivational systems do we want to take advantage of when trying new things? Let's start with motivation itself. Now, I'm not the biggest rooter of motivation, but I believe that it can be a good tool that can set the starting path for someone on a new journey. But often motivation has a time limit connected to it. Oftentimes, especially with social media these days, people will see a short motivational video and want to try something new because of it. I get looped into this all the time. I see a video of David Goggins running or Jocko Willink giving a motivational speech, and instantly I feel a rush of motivation to go get whatever needs doing done. This is only a temporary boost though. Motivation can act like a drug. It gives a small little boost, but wears out over time, and then you need more. Eventually it gets to the point where whatever was giving you the motivation doesn't give it to you anymore, and you lose it all. And when that temporary boost of motivation runs dry, discipline is what steps in. It's the habit that keeps you moving, even on days when your energy is low or the goal feels out of reach. I'm not going to dive too far into discipline right now, but just know that you should seek it whenever your motivation runs out. So I mentioned that motivation was good for getting the ball rolling when trying new things. Let's dive into that. Intrinsic motivation is found when you are motivated to do something because you yourself feel internally rewarded when participating in a venture or activity. Often, activities that you perceive as fun, amusing, and pleasurable are motivated intrinsically. Extrinsic motivation is found when you are externally motivated to do something. This one's a little harder to explain, but an easy way to describe it is that you are participating in something to gain some sort of reward, whether that be a trophy, money, and or power. Think of something new you've tried recently, whether you were intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated by it. Neither can be defined as being better, as they each have their own strengths. Having a good mix of intrinsic and extrinsically related ventures and things in your life can be amazing. Some activities might even include a bit of both motivations. It all depends on you. Ever heard of dopamine? Well, it turns out dopamine plays a huge part in how we react to trying new things. New challenges can stimulate an immense amount of dopamine once completed. Take, for example, a new problem in math class, something you've never seen before. When you first go and start solving it, you might feel like absolute crap. But once you solve it, you may feel like Superman. This same sort of scenario is attributed to trying all sorts of new things. Most of the time you start out with no skill, but once you get past that first skill block, you feel unstoppable. This is a long chapter here. I didn't realize how long it was. We might not even make it through this chapter today. Continuing. So when you start something new, that initial discomfort is a small price to pay for the dopamine reward waiting on the other side. It's that hit of satisfaction that keeps you coming back, ready to tackle the next challenge. Another important psychological tool you can use when pursuing new ventures is goal setting. I know goal setting is kind of cheesy and maybe a little bit cliche, but goals can be so powerful. You just have to make the right goals. Most people have heard of SMART goals or Locke's goal setting theory, but those frameworks can sometimes feel just a little rigid. That's why I developed MVP. It's my way of tailoring goals to make me feel that makes what makes me feel engaged and motivated. It might not be for everyone, but it's worked for me, and I think it can help anyone trying to personalize their goal setting. So here's how the MVP framework works. The M stands for make, V stands for visual, P stands for physical. When I'm setting a goal, I want it to fit into one or more of these three categories, ideally all three. Make means that given that my venture includes the ability for a making process, I want to create a goal which focuses on the process of making something. If my venture was computer programming, I wouldn't create a goal of the technicalities such as learning a new data structure. I would create a goal of making a specific program that I find fun and interesting, which may include the implementation of said data structure. In the process, I in turn learn that data structure because in order to make the program, it is implied to learn about that data structure. Visual means that I want my goal to focus on some sort of visual change. An example would be if I wanted to improve my self-care routine, I must set a goal which implies that there will be a visual difference once I complete it. I will focus more on the visual difference as the main goal than the actual process because in order to achieve that visual goal, the steps to get there are implied. Physical means that I want my goal to focus on some sort of physical change, whether it be statically or kinetically. While an obvious venture for this would be a sport or any mainstream physical activity, but let's go for a venture which you may not think of when it comes to physical change. Well, actually, now that we are at the last of all, the three elements of MVP, let's create an example which includes all three elements. Bob just started painting, and now he wants to make a new goal. If Bob were to use my MVP method, here's what he might come up with. I want to make a painting, which is incredibly visually appealing, and I want it to be difficult enough so that it improves my physical painting abilities, such as hand-eye coordination and general motor skills. We're just going to read these last two pages, and that'll be it for today. The psychology behind why I created this method is quite simple. First of all, the MVP's method's strength lies in its personalization aspect. It tailors the goal-setting process to your own individual preferences and strengths, making it more relevant and engaging for you. Second, it encompasses a broad range of goal types. Making, which is process-oriented, visual, which is outcome-oriented, and physical, which is performance-oriented. I created the MVP for my own personal goals, but I believe it's something anyone can use. Whether you're making something, looking for a visual transformation, or aiming to improve your physical skills, There's no limit to what you can achieve when your goals are personal, engaging, and meaningful to you. Overcoming psychological barriers. Building self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle whatever challenges come your way, can feel like a monumental task when you're stepping into something new. The truth is, if you don't believe in your own capability, you'll quit the moment you hit that first big hurdle. To reach your goals, you must believe that you can. Without self-efficacy, your goals will seem like they're sitting at the top of Olympus Mons, the highest mountain in the solar system, over on Mars. Yeah, go Google it. So how do we get past that feeling and start building real belief in ourselves? What is the strategy upon which the gold medal is rung? Start small with mastery experiences. Knock out a few tasks that seem tough, but they are manageable. Even if they feel like mountains in the moment, these small wins stack up to build your self-efficacy like nothing else. Even the tiniest little tasks that may seem insurmountable in the moment will build that self-efficacy of yours. This is one of the reasons why if you plan out what you need to do to reach a goal step by step, you can unlock what I call the domino effect. Every tough task you complete is like knocking down another domino of doubt. Picture a step-by-step plan for your goal. Finish one step, and your confidence gets a little boost. That momentum might just carry you straight into the next step, and then the next. Each win feeds the belief that you're capable of more. Every step creates the confidence in yourself that you need to in order to conquer the next one. I'm getting a little distracted here, but you can also link this to habit stacking, but we'll touch upon that later. That is where we will stop today. We got through, I think that's most of chapter 2. It's quite a long one. There's lots to cover, but I hope you enjoyed this. This book is all about personal development and figuring out what you want to do with your life. How do you find what you're truly passionate about? What's your true purpose in everyday life? And how do you push towards that? How do you get over the fear of failure? How do you define what your version of success is? A lot of people, there's a mix of all these different aspects that go into it. There's not one version of success in the world, although that is what society wants us to think. Every person's version of success is a bit different, but I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next week, and we'll finish chapter 2, and then we'll probably get into chapter 3. I'll see you then.